Previously on Chucky, Lexi was a pain in the ass for 3 episodes, and on top of that, she disguised herself as Jake's dead father. So now our protagonist hates her, but he's still not sure if he's a killer. And even though Chucky tells him that everybody's a killer if you push him far enough, he wasn't sure, so he gave Chucky to Lexi's little sister so he can infiltrate the house and kill her. But instead of killing Lexi, he killed Oliver, and when he tried to kill her, the whole house caught fire. That's why today on the Summarizer, Chucky Episode 4. After the fire at Lexi's house, Jake goes to the hospital where all the families of his schoolmates are. At one point, we see Oliver's parents who find out about their son's death, Junior and Devin who are alive, and finally we see Lexi, who we're not quite sure how, but apparently survived Chucky's attack and is now recovering in the hospital. There she tells Jake that this doll tried to kill her, and there she realizes that the doll was also the one who killed his father. So Jake starts to tell her the whole truth, that in reality in the talent show, the one who was talking was Chucky, and now they both want to find the doll to stop him from killing people. But then Lexi gets mad because he told Chucky to kill her, and even though he knew it was a killer doll, he gave it to her little sister and put it in the house. Yeah, on top of that, she gets mad and says this iconic Chucky quote.
You're so dead!
You are so dead.
There, Lexi goes to tell all this to her parents, but Jake says that she can't tell anyone because anyone who told the truth about Chucky has either been put away or worse, mostly worse. And also, no one is gonna believe her. There also, Jake finds out that Oliver died set on fire, and she's still angry, so she goes into the room where her little sister and parents are. After that, the detective goes to talk to Devin. At first, she tells him that he couldn't have gone to Lexi's without asking, and tells him that she already talked to Oliver's parents. But at one point, she starts to do the only thing this protagonist does throughout the series, ask her son questions about Jake. So she asks him who was at the party. She asks him if Jake was there, but he says no, and then she asks him about Jake's doll. There he tells her that the doll was there and that it got there because Jake gave it to Lexi's little sister. But at that moment, the detective tells him that all this is not because of the burning house, but because Oliver didn't die in the fire and someone killed him. After that, a couple of nurses come in to check on Lexi's little sister, and there she asks her parents if Caroline's gonna be okay, but they're super angry because her sister's in the ICU, a boy is dead, and their house, which by the way is a historic landmark that belongs to the city, is partially destroyed, all because she decided to throw a party and set the place on fire. There she says that it wasn't her fault and that it was really Jake's, but her parents don't want to listen to her anymore and they leave. After that, someone throws a ball at Jake, but it was a woman and not Chucky as we all expected, and at one point they show this woman with her son again, but nothing happens in the episode, so I'll tell you about it in case it becomes important for the next episode, okay?
Okay.
Then Devin appears and asks Jake how his cousin Junior's doing, and then Jake apologizes for the fire situation. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that at one point Devin tells him what his mother told him, that Oliver was stabbed to death during the fire or right before, but the point is that someone killed him. There he tells him that all this was told to him by his mother and that it's super secret and shouldn't be told to anyone, because they think it could have been an intruder who snuck in or someone at the party. Either way, there's a killer out there right now running around Hackensack. And finally he tells him that his mom also asked about your doll, and she asked if he saw it at the party, so he advises him to be careful because his mother has those ideas about him. Meanwhile, Junior's family is sad because of what happened to Oliver's parents, and also Jake's aunt asks Lexi's parents how Caroline is. They tell them that she's stabilized, but they're keeping her on the ventilator for now. After that, they ask about Junior. The mother says he's okay, but the father's really upset because the doctors say he won't be able to run for at least a month thanks to the damage to his lungs. And on top of that, he claims that they let Lexi have free reign for whatever the hell she wants, and it was a matter of time before something like this happened. Then Lexi's mother tells them that their child was under a lot of pressure and the two families end up in a fight until finally the detective shows up to separate them. Well, actually it's not that she separates them, but she gets into the fight because Lexi's mother says that everyone is responsible for not knowing where their children were, even the detective, because her son is doing a podcast that is just a little disturbing for a kid to be so obsessed with crime. And there's a whole mess at the hospital that could easily be part of the kill count of the latest Halloween movie.
Everybody shut up! Arrest him!
There, the detective separates them and tells them the truth about Oliver's death. She tells him that the medical examiner has determined the cause of death for Oliver Hayden was severe blood loss as a result of multiple stab wounds, and so his death has been ruled a homicide. So she tells him that she's going to have to ask their kids a couple of questions, and they all just leave. Meanwhile, Lexi goes to talk to Jake to see what they're gonna do to find the doll, and then Jake suggests that they go back to the last place where they saw him alive, and therefore go back to her house to see if he's still there. So the two of them sneak into the house without being seen by the police. In the meantime, they tell Junior they will have to do a bronchoscopy with a camera to see how his lungs are, or something like that, and there his father asks him if he really loves cross country or he only does it for his father. But he still tells him that he really loves the sport, and the talk ends there, because his dad is thrilled and the doctors go in to do the procedure. But after they give him anesthetics, Junior seems to see Chucky. Meanwhile, Devin starts looking for information about Chucky, and there he starts reading about Charles while we are shown a flashback of 1972. Apparently, after the brutal murder of his parents at the hands of an unknown assailant, Charles Lee Ray was placed in a boys' home in South Jersey. There he read books to the kids, and apparently he was very good at dealing with them. But one day he has an argument with the guy who cleaned the place. And according to the story, Charles Lee Ray spent a few relatively quiet years in the boys' home until another violent incident changed the trajectory of his life. Because there we are shown that while playing with the kids, he shows them the guy who was cleaning the place dead. And that kill is counted because it's a kill of Charles, who's the same person as Chucky. Oh, and besides killing him, he cut off his arm and put a hook on it so he can be Captain Hook and the kids can play with him. Or something like that, because the kids don't really like the game, and two of the three kids run away, but one of them stays to see the corpse, and there Charles says the phrase he was told when he was a kid.
You got guts, kid.
Meanwhile, Lexi and Jake return to the house that is completely burned. There, Jake takes one of his pills, which we learn is Effexor and is for anxiety and depression. And apparently Lexi knows about these kind of pills, and they seem to have things in common. At that moment, they go to look for Chucky in Lexi's room, but before, on the way, they talk for a while and how neither of them are happy, and it seems that they still have things in common. But at one point, she asks him if he really wanted to kill her, and he says yes. There she tells him why she didn't tell him before and how she should know he was so angry. And even though she finds it a bit exaggerated that he wanted to kill her, he says that he wanted to kill her because of what she did with his father's disguise and because she's a bad person and treats everyone around her as if they were nothing. And at the end, he tells her that he wanted her to die, but not because there was something wrong with him, it's because she fucking deserves it. When she hears this, she gets scared and falls, but Jake manages to save her, and while she's hanging, we see that our hero Chucky appears with his face all burned and saying that it's the easiest thing in the world, just let her go, and that this is life giving him a second chance to be the man he wants to be. Finally, he tells him to let her go and that the world will be better without her, but there Jake says that he isn't like Chucky and that he isn't a killer. So he helps her up and Chucky tries to kill her himself. But just as the police show up, Chucky puts the knife away and the police tell the kids that they must leave the house.
Is this your sister's doll? Your dad asked me to bring it back for ugly fucking doll, yeah.
You are so dead.
When they arrive at the hospital, the policeman gets off with Chucky and leaves the kids locked in the van. But then Devin's mother appears, takes Jake to ask him more questions, and Lexi goes to look for the doll. But at one point, the cop stops and grabs something from the vending machine and puts Chucky on a chair. Then Lexi enters the room where her little sister is, asks the doctor if they saw any doll, and she says no, but at one point she sees him walking by in the background. There, Lexi goes to look for him, but Devin appears looking for Jake because he wants to tell him something about his doll. But first, Lexi wants to talk to him, so they go to his room. After that, the cop grabs Chucky, who apparently is still there, or I don't know, maybe he went for a walk and came back, and he takes him to Caroline's room. But after leaving the doll, he starts stealing the food that was gifted to the girl, and on top of that, he covers Chucky with crumbs. Oh, and on top of that, he steals another one of the girl's cookies, so that's where our hero appears. He hits him with a scalpel, hits his spinal cord, and that's why the guy falls to the floor and can't move. There he grabs a couple of syringes and finally kills him. After that, we go back to the flashback where Charles is a teenager and the police are investigating the death of the cleaning guy. There, Charles gives a gift to the kid who is left playing with the corpse and makes him promise not to tell anyone about it. The boy accepts, and the gift is none other than the hand of the cleaning guy. After that, Charles packs the suitcase and leaves. And that's when we learn that the kid's name is Eddie Caputo, and if he sounds familiar, it's because he's the partner in crime of Charles Lee Ray in Child's Play from 1988. And one of these days, I'm gonna upload the kill count of that that movie, so don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss that video. Returning to the hospital, Devin tells Lexi the story of Charles Lee Ray, the famous serial killer from Hackensack who died in the 80s and who terrorized Chicago for years. And there he tells her about an urban legend about Charles and a good guy doll like Chucky. Charles Lee Ray was shot and killed in a toy store in Chicago, but supposedly right before he died, he transferred his soul to a good guy doll, and that doll is still out there killing. There, Lexi tells him that he's not a legend and that Chucky is alive, but not only is he alive, he's also trying to kill them. But Devin still doesn't believe her, and after that, the detective starts asking Jake questions because he doesn't even have an alibi for the party night. Then she asks him if Oliver was bullying him, and he says no. Then she also starts asking him about his father's death and if he was beating him. And she tells him that she wants to help him, but for that, he has to tell her the truth. But when he's about to tell her that it was Chucky, the doll disconnects Caroline, which causes alarms to start ringing, and everyone goes to see what was going on with the little girl. They still turn everything back on and nothing happens, but there they find the corpse of the policeman while Chucky is sitting quietly next to him. And so ends the 4th episode of the Chucky series, with only 2 kills, bringing Chucky's total up to 8 kills so far. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the episode 5 next week. Also comment which movies or series you'd like me to summarize for future videos, and share this video with your friends. See you later!
Okay. Bye.